Who he attracting with that line, what's your name, what's your size? Soon as he buy that wine, I just creep up from behind and ask you what your interests are, who you be with, things to make you smile, what numbers to dial. You gonna be here for a while? I'll go call my crew. You go call your crew. We can rendezvous at the bar around 2. Now check this out. What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now. Hope y'all are having a great day. As always, I hope you're making it do what it do. I hope you're living up to the full potential that you currently have, and you're blessing the world with everything that you have to offer. Because, man, guess what? You offer the world something powerful and something special. But you also offer the world you, which is extremely unique, because there's only one you. I think every so often we need to be reminded of that fact. There is only one you. Somebody might have your name. You might have an identical twin. But at the end of the day, there's only one you. So don't limit what the world experiences because you suppress who you are. Go out and be that. Be the best version of yourself. Because guess what? You can't be somebody else. You know, everybody says, oh, I'm the next LeBron, or I'm the next Richard Smith, or I'm the next, whoever. I'm the next big speaker, or I'm the next so-and-so author, I'm the next Denzel, I'm the next everybody says I'm the next, but trying to be the next, at best, you can only be second place because that person has number one already locked up. So don't try to be anybody else, be you, but be the best version of you, because little do you know, there's somebody looking at you and thinking, you know what, I'd like to be the next Mike D, or I'd like to be the next so-and-so. So somebody is looking at you and thinking about, I can be the next you. So just like others inspire you, you inspire somebody else. But the key is use them as inspiration. Don't try to be them. Be the best version of yourself. So I don't know. I just felt the need to drop that. But I'm going to tell you today, I heard something on the radio, and obviously this is something that I've heard probably hundreds, if not thousands of times at this point. But it was a lyric from, a song that, was hyped back in the day when I was in high school, right? But it's interesting when you hear things, but then you hear them through the lens of where you currently are in life and how you can start to see wisdom on a different level. And I'm taking it back, fellas, back to the mid-90s. Notorious, B.I.G, Biggie Smalls, Big, however you remember him, you know who I'm talking about. But there was a song, I love it when you call me Big Papa, right? Everybody remembers that joint. Like in high school, that joint was it. Like when you were at the, the party or the club, the teen club at the time. But if you were at a party or at, whatever, if that song came on, you knew it was on and popping. And it was kind of a slow, chill groove. And it's kind of funny because I don't think that kids at their clubs or parties or whatever, they play anything slow anymore. So they don't know about, having a kind of a slow groove. But either way, I digress. That just takes me back to, times in the mid-90s. But I was listening to the line that, that he dropped. And again, he was talking about it from the standpoint of, being the man with the ladies. But I thought back to how this applies to life and how much wisdom was in this particular verse. So when he said, who he attracting with that line, what's your name, what's your size? Soon as he buy that wine, I just creep up from behind and ask you what your interests are, who you be with, things to make you smile, what numbers to dial. You gonna be here for a while? I'll go call my crew. You go call your crew. We can rendezvous at the bar around 2. Now check this out. Now, again, through the lens of how it was written, it was about, hollering at a chick at the bar, right? And then basically saying, look, I'm Big Papa. Can't nobody get with me. Can't nobody do it like I do it, right? But I want you to take a step back and listen to what he said and how that is really applicable to life, to effective communication, but then to the notion of just how we need to build from a relationship perspective. It was quite interesting. So basically what he said was, ask you what your interests are. So when you take a step back, when we communicate with folks, asking someone what their interests are, the thing is you make communication personal at that point. See, a lot of us honestly are just like, look, I want to say whatever I have to say. And this doesn't even come from the standpoint of communicating with, a woman, or communicating with your spouse, or communicating, in regards to some level of romantic interest. It's just communication 101 across the board. I ask you what your interests are. So from that standpoint, I am looking to find things to communicate to you that are of importance to you. Think about that. Ask you what your interests are. I'm starting with, what are you interested in? See, most of us in regards to communication, and this can apply to, professional communication from the stage if you're a speaker, but this also applies to communicating with your spouse or your children or your coworkers or a neighbor. If we're trying to be effective in our communication, do we start with asking what your interests are? Do we start with understanding what's important to that entity that we are communicating with? So ask you what your interests are. Who you be with. I know, again, that's not grammatically correct. We all know that. But who you be with. Translation. Who do you hang out with? Who do you kick it with? So one of the things that's interesting, again, you find out what people are interested in, but then you get a little bit of background on them. So you start to understand, like, who is it that you hang out with? What does your network look like? Think about this. There's this famous quote that states, you are an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So if you want to understand an audience, if you want to understand an individual, if you want to understand an entity, take a step back and look at their associations. So yes, from a romantic perspective, you can kind of get a glimpse of who they are by the people they kick it with, right? Birds of a feather tend to flock together. That's real. But then on the flip side, take it out of the realm of romantic interest. Think about businesses. Like, okay, you want to learn something about a business. Okay, well, who is this business partnered with? You want to learn something about, a particular person. She's like, well, who have they had contracts with? Who have they connected with? You start to get a glimpse of who a person is by their associations. Pay attention to that. It's wisdom. Again, this was back in the mid-90s with Big dropping, his rap to a chick, right? Like he was, showing that he was the man. But we can take that wisdom and look at it through a different lens and realize that he was dropping bars, like real bars. Again, ask you what your interests are, figuring out what people are interested in, who you be with. From that perspective, you're understanding the network, you're understanding the connectivity of that entity that you're communicating with, whether it be your spouse, like who are your spouse's friends? If it's some lady that you're interested in, who does she hang out with? Where does she come from? That will start to inform you a little bit about who they are and how they operate, right? So ask you what your interests are, who you be with, things to make you smile. Things to make you smile. So I've figured out and I've understood things that you're interested in. So I understand the context of how I need to communicate. Again, not just romantically, but across the board. You can take this wisdom and use it for effective communication. Because I've taken time there. I've taken time to get some understanding of where you come from, who you hang out with, who you're associated with. And that helps to inform me, as to how you perceive things or the perspective in which you come from, right? And so things that make you smile. So now I understand that. So now it's all about, how do I now serve you? So things that make you smile are either things that are funny, right? Or things that really mean something to you. You see what I'm saying? So like we've taken time to understand where you're coming from, what you're interested in, the perspective that you're coming from. But now we're putting that into action, and we're actually putting that into place so that now the things that I communicate are things that matter to you. I've gotten your attention. Things that make you smile get your attention. It's like when you tell a joke, you get someone's attention. You think about like, public speakers or even pastors doing sermons or motivational, messages and all of that. Usually there's some humor involved because humor catches the attention, right? So I understand where you're coming from. I understand your context. Now I'm really gaining your attention. So ask you what your interests are, who you be with, things to make you smile, what numbers to dial. That wisdom there, what numbers to dial. Again, through the context of hollering at somebody, I'm like trying to get your number. But the reality is, when I get your number, that implies or that sets the tone that, hey, this is not the end. I'm setting an expectation that I want to communicate with you going forward. I'm setting the expectation that, you know what, there is more to come. So yes, in a romantic interest type situation, we can see that as black and white. But even outside of that, I'm setting the tone that there is more to come. If I'm communicating with my spouse, with my kids, if I'm speaking from a stage, if I'm doing a presentation, what you're doing is you're setting expectations. Again, Big was dropping bars and we didn't even realize it because at the time I was looking at it through the lens of a teenager. Now through the lens of being damn near 40, I see it through a different light and it makes a lot more sense now. But again, what numbers to dial? I'm setting the expectation of things to come. You're going to be here for a while. I'll go call my crew. You go call your crew. We can rendezvous at the bar around 2. So basically, it's letting you know that I'm going to now step away. Because if I'm asking if you're still going to be here, that means I'm leaving. So I'm going to give you space to think. I'm going to give you time to go and do your thing. But again, I've set the expectation that I'm going to follow back up with you later by mentioning the number. It's wisdom, man. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. You set the expectation that I'm going to follow up. But then also, I'm doing that because I'm also about to step away and give you space. See, a lot of times in regards to communication, like even with sales, when you really go through sales training, a lot of times you're told to not over talk or not to oversell things, right? Sometimes, it's even been stated that the first person to talk loses, after you've made your pitch. Let people chill. That in essence is kind of stepping away. Think about that. It was wisdom. Who he attracting with that line, what's your name, what's your size? Soon as he buy that wine, I just creep up from behind. Ask you what your interests are, who you be with, things to make you smile, what numbers to dial. You're going to be here for a while. I'll go call my crew. You go call your crew. We're going to rendezvous at the bar around 2. So I'm setting the stage and I'm coming back. I'm giving you space. But because I've gathered information, meaning I understand what you're interested in, I also understand who you hang out with. So I have an understanding of the makeup of your crew. So when I go call my crew to come back, if I'm smart, I make sure that I call the right members of my crew to match the members of your crew, because you also mentioned to me who you be with, right? Who you're with. Your crew, who you hang out with. So if I'm looking to make this environment something that is very conducive to us growing, and again, not just romantically, but think about business. Think about, with your other couples that you all like to hang out with. You gather information, you understand it, but then you communicate through the lens that makes sense to that particular entity that you're communicating with. Again, this was just interesting. I don't know. Maybe y'all might not groove with this. Maybe you can't see it on this particular level that I saw it. But what was crazy was when I was riding in the car today, I was just like, yo, that is deep. And I don't know why it just really resonated with me today that Big was dropping bars, not in the sense of most people think about him dropping bars, but from the sense of effective communication. And I guess this is also another example of how we can take information from various sources and look at it through a different lens and get a totally different message that is applicable across the board. So the next time y'all listen to some old school Biggie, go through and just listen to the lyrics, but then not listen to the lyrics. Don't listen to the lyrics from the context of which he spit the bar, right? Think about it from the standpoint of how you are currently, or what stage you currently are in your life, and how that could be applicable. And not just Biggie. I mean, anybody who, has some knowledgeable stuff that they drop. It would be interesting to start approaching it through the lens of where you are now and see what's different about it. So I hope y'all got a little something from this, man. I don't know. It got me, and maybe there's been write-ups about this, over the years, because, it has been 20 some odd years since this thing has dropped. But I hope y'all enjoyed it. And as always, fellas, visit blackfathersnow.com. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Amazon Alexa, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, share. Hey, visit IamMikeDorsey.com if you're interested in having me come out to speak to your group, to your church, to your school, to your summer program that's coming up. I got a few things booked up this summer, so definitely get at me if you're interested in having me come out to get a quote on what my rates are. And definitely I do travel, so I can go international or other places around the country. Definitely open to it. But visit blackfamilyapparel.com, and grab some dope apparel that celebrates the nuances of the black family. And until next time, fellas, be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.